Okay, now that I've traced the neck and the head, I'm going to start working on the background. So here you see I've used a piece of computer paper to trace around the body, and I've divided the background into three separate layers, a top layer, a middle layer, and a bottom layer. So I've just traced the top layer out of magazine paper, and it's kind of a beach scene. Then for the bottom layer, I've mirrored the colors in the top layer with a blue-green piece of paper, and I'm joining the two using a natural fiber paper. Now on the right side, again, I'm using computer paper to trace it out, and I've made three pieces, a top, a middle, and a bottom. I cut those pieces out, lay them on top of the paper I want to use, trace around it, cut those pieces out, and place them down where I want them. Now you notice I don't start gluing until I have all three pieces where I want them to be. And you might have just noticed I made a little bit of a mistake at the top there. I had to fix it, and I'll tell you in the next video how that is accomplished.
Hey there everybody, it's Mrs. Bashman. So here we have the piece that I've been working on that you just saw in the video, what do you call it, time-lapse video. So these are the template pieces that I was using for the background, and I wanted to get my basic background done first. That way when I cut out these other pieces, I can cut them out so that they overlap the background and I don't have to worry about going around and in between a whole bunch of little parts. The only part so far that I'm going to have to cut out that I haven't so far for the background are these pieces here in between the waist and the arms, and that's not going to be too much of a big deal, so I'll do that next time. I just want to make sure that I cut it out in the same pieces of paper. So I highly recommend doing it similar to the way that I did it. Like you can see here where I've labeled my pieces as I cut them out because it helps me to keep track of it. So here I've got my background top left, my middle left background, and my bottom left background. Top right, middle, and bottom for the left as well. Let me get these template pieces out the way. So here I used a combination of magazine papers along with some bookbinding papers that I had here at home. I really liked these that have the natural plant matter inside of them. They've got little leaves and stems and little tiny itty bitty flowers, which I thought was really beautiful. And I loved this torn edge here on this piece of paper. I wanted to keep that, so I made sure that I glued down the top two pieces first so that I could overlap the red here with the torn edge. So now that I have these pieces, I'm going to overlap these as I go, but I'm just happy that I have a base down. So my next goal is going to be to cut out these two little background pieces in between the arm and the waist, cut out the base for the shirt or whatever outfit I decide I'm going to have on both the left and the right side for the adult and the child, start working on the blanket and the face for the child and the hands for the adult as well. Once I have this covered, then I can start really layering. You're going to have more than one layer here. So for example, I've started pulling out stuff that I like these little birds and leaves. Maybe I can overlap that here. So you see how I'm starting to build up layers. My plan, I love this image. I want to cut around her and have her clinging between somewhere on this side. I haven't decided exactly where. I may keep the concrete, I may not. I may get rid of the concrete, but I really want to have this dangling image on this side someplace. So I have all these little bits and pieces of paper, fabric, magazine cutouts and stuff that I'm going to start layering. On the time-lapse video, it was very difficult for you to see, but I actually made a little bit of a mistake up in here. So I want to talk to you about how I fixed that. So for this piece, I cut it a little bit too long, and when I went to go trim it back, I ended up cutting it a little too short. So I know it's impossible to see it now, but this is actually two pieces. So what I did is I took that piece I had accidentally cut off and reattached it right next to it and then fixed the end that way. Also on the time lapse, it was hard for you to see, but after I put the black down, this piece started to peel up on the edge. So what I had to do was take an X-Acto knife here, and I took my glue and I shaved a little bit of the glue off on my X-Acto knife, used that to just get the glue under this little edge of paper and then lay it back down. Also on the time-lapse video, I don't know if you noticed or not because it goes so fast, when I go to press down the paper after it's been glued, I try not to use my fingers because you get glue on your fingers all the time. So I would use a scrap piece of paper or a scrap piece of magazine paper, and I'd use that, put it down, and then press the paper down so that I'm not getting my fingers on that. That's the number one tip you want to follow to not get glue smears. The second is always keep a wet paper towel or a damp paper towel handy. I just happen to have a spray bottle of water nearby that I was using for painting. And you just clean your fingers off pretty much every time you glue something down, because you're going to get glue stick on your fingers and you're going to get it along the edge of the paper, and it'll start to get these little black glue marks, and you really don't want to see that. You want to try and avoid black glue marks as much as you can, and you really can't erase them. So just be very careful about that, very cognizant of that. So here I know I'm going to be covering this edge up, so I'll be able to hide this, but this little bit of glue is always going to bug me. I'm never going to be able to fix that completely unless I cover it up with something. So make sure that you keep your fingers clean with a damp paper towel, and make sure you keep your paper clean when you press it down by using another piece of paper on top, so that you're not rubbing directly onto your piece with your fingers and getting it all dirty and all icky. All right, so this was 50 minutes of work for me today, getting the background cut out and filled out. So I will do another 50 minutes time lapse and show you how that looks and how I'm progressing. All right, thanks for watching.